Hello, welcome to my garden here in Essex, UK, southeast England, and today I'm going to be making a video talking about my polytunnels. Now I have two polytunnels. This one here, it's a FeelgoodUK polytunnel. It's 6 meters long and 3 meters wide, which is about 20 feet by about 10 feet, and I put it up last May. So we'll look inside. Now, having a polytunnel opens up so many avenues of gardening for you. Many of you may be aware that I grew a good crop of melons here in the polytunnel, all sorts of different varieties, including watermelons, and they did indeed do well. A polytunnel can help you to extend the season either side, so to get crops earlier and to extend the season the other end. So they really can help you increase with your cropping. Already I've got plenty of seeds underway here, many of which have germinated, and many are now good sized plants that are ready for me to plant out either here or at the allotment. Down here I have lettuce, I also have some kale and also some chard. I've got winter density lettuce here, lettuce all the year round, and this is Ford Hook giant chard. I've also got spinach, and what I did with these was I planted them out in autumn last year. I actually planted them out a little bit too late. They didn't make much size before the days got shorter and the temperature decreased around October time, which starts to take growth down to a very slow rate indeed, if at all. But so there we are. So I got them probably planted out around October time, and they just sat there over the winter, and the last few weeks or so, the last month, they've really come into growth, and this is a great thing to do so that you can get some nice crops early in the season. Down here I have some kale. This is red Russian kale, which can also be used as a salad kale. Nice tasting indeed. Here I've got some Ford Hook giant chard and some spinach here. Now, a good way of overwintering vegetables such as this is to start them off around late July time, maybe in a plug or something like that, and then plant them out about a month or so later so they get a good size before the temperature decreases and the day length gets shorter, thus resulting in lower light. That way your plants can make a good size before the colder weather, and you can have some really nice big pickings throughout the colder months when not too much fresh food may be available. So that's very beneficial. And then of course, when the temperature warms up in the spring like it is now, they come into growth again and you can start picking again. So extending the season both ends by using a polytunnel is brilliant. Of course, you don't have to have a polytunnel or greenhouse. You could use a cold frame and you can get the same benefits from one of those as well. Now here I have my propagation area, and I've got lots of things coming up now. Now what I also like to do is to germinate many of my seeds inside on a windowsill and then bring them out here. So if they're hardy, I tend to bring them out here and maybe just put them on the table shortly after they have germinated. If they're not hardy, I'll show you what I do with some of those in one moment. But I'll just give you an example here. So these Jesse dwarf peas, I planted these here in the polytunnel in these cell trays on the 18th of February. So when they get about this big, these will be ready for planting out. And with regards to something like peas, the protection a polytunnel or a greenhouse can provide is brilliant because they are notorious for getting eaten off by mice. So give you a more reliable way of bringing on plants ready to plant out. Now down here I have some turnips, and these are variety purple top Milan. And everything you see here that I've just mentioned, I sowed in January. So a really nice early start, but planted out already. So you imagine if the weather warms up, and the fact that this is a no-dig bed as well, which means the growing medium will warm up quicker, this really could be a productive bed very early in the season. I planted some carrot seeds on the 15th of February in these containers here in the polytunnel. So they benefited from the extra warmth of the microclimate of the polytunnel. So you can see these are variety James Scarlett Intermediate. Many of those have germinated, probably with more to come. And these are Paris Market 5, and you can see that many of those have germinated as well. So with regards to polytunnels, they can help you with early germination and also container growing alike. And also with something like carrots, some say that the carrot fly jumps, and if you put a container of carrots on a table such as this, then the carrot fly hopefully can't jump onto it. So that, of course, a bit of help there with regards to pest control. This is my other polytunnel, so it's a FeelgoodUK polytunnel also. It's 3 metres long and 2 metres wide. That's about 10 feet by 6.5 feet. I put this up in February 2017. It's done well, went through a variety of storms, and it's still very much intact. One thing I recommend with regards to polytunnels is to have a hinged door. I will show you. So you undo it like that, and that way you've got a nice hinged door, as opposed to ones with zips and flaps and things like that. This way it's much more durable. You just close it like that. You can put something in front of it if you wish to give it a bit more security. So with regards to this polytunnel here, including purchasing it and all the groundwork I did to secure it properly, I estimate it cost me around 150 to 200 pounds. Now, it may sound a lot, but it is an investment and it does allow you to grow a lot more. I will show you what's inside it. This is a peach tree. This is variety Dixie Red. It crops very well year after year. I used to have it in a pot. Now I've got it planted in the polytunnel. Here, I pruned it a week or so ago and got some lovely buds all ready to burst. I'm expecting a lovely crop this year, so I keep it in here. Peach trees, with regards to hardiness, can grow outside perfectly well here in the UK, but I protect it from winter rainfall. That way I don't get peach leaf curl. Now, some people sometimes tell me that they grow peaches outside without any peach leaf curl, but that certainly wasn't my experience. So I've got it in here to protect it from the winter rainfall, and this tree produces beautifully, so it shall be staying in here. Now down here I have some blueberries, all sorts of different varieties here. I have got Duke here, and over here Gold Traub, all sorts of different, Elliot as well. And it's generally advised, if you're going to grow blueberries, if you can, to have more than one variety, so that'll help you get a better crop through better pollination. So keep them in here. One reason I keep them in here is because when these put their berries out, the birds absolutely love them. That way I could just leave them in here and I don't have to spend additional time covering them up. I leave the door open to help with ventilation in here with regards to the peach tree and these, and there are also flaps here as well which do help for air ventilation, so they really can add a nice bit of convenience to your gardening, can polytunnels. Now this polytunnel here, I estimate it costs me about 400 to 450 pounds to purchase, put up, etc. That includes the purchase of the tunnel itself from FeelgoodUK and all the groundwork that I did to secure it to the ground. I got that from a local builder's merchant. Plus, of course, with both polytunnels, you've got to factor in the time in which it took me to put them up. The smaller polytunnel, the 3x2 one, that probably took me a day, a long afternoon, something like that. This took about 2 days, maybe even 3, because I had to do a lot of groundwork. I had to dig a bit of dirt out, some soil from underneath there, because the garden needed to have a bit removed so that I could fit it. One benefit, of course, with regards to having a polytunnel over a greenhouse is that you can put a polytunnel up on ground that's not perfectly level, where with a greenhouse you really need to level it first. So polytunnels, I choose to go for polytunnels basically because they are cheaper for the amount of space that you get. It has been said that greenhouses are better for holding heat, but I've certainly done fine with polytunnels. Peaches, bitter melons, watermelons, chilies, I've grown it and it hasn't done bad. Some people say with regards to the green cover of the polytunnel, does it stop light coming in? Maybe it does. I've read that some people think that can have an effect on plants, but certainly hasn't detrimentally affected anything to my knowledge. Some people even say it's better by not letting too much sunlight in, and that can damage the plants. So again, that's one that's open for debate, but I will be sticking to these green mesh ones. So my other polytunnel's been up over 4 years now. You could see that the green cover is still perfectly intact, and of course I do need to clean it with some algae cleaner, something like that. That will happen in time. Now regarding direction to face a polytunnel, either a north-south or an east-west axis is generally recommended. So this one is actually facing north to south and the other one is facing from east to west. Now this is a residential area, so north to south generally you get an equal amount of light, but of course it depends on surrounding buildings, etc. This polytunnel here gets a lot more light than the 3x2 one, but hasn't affected the growing of peaches too much, although I haven't done very well with melons in there, so that could indeed be a factor. But make the best with what you've got. Of course, you want to try and get as much sun as possible throughout most of the day, particularly if you're growing things like I love to grow in the polytunnel, things like melons, bitter melons, and also oranges. So look into the surrounding buildings and things that are around it which could stop light getting to certain parts of the polytunnel. So for example, let's say this part of the polytunnel was darker than this part. You might consider growing your tomatoes here, and you may consider having, for example, lettuce here. That way your sun-loving plants get more of the available sunlight and heat than the ones that can do without it a little bit less. Now I'm very much getting into microclimates within a microclimate. So here I have a polystyrene container, and in here I have things like tomatoes. These are variety Gardener's Delight, and here I have Basque chilies. Now these will not tolerate frost, they are not hardy, but what I do is when risk of frost is coming at night time, I put the lid on like that, and that helps to protect them from the frost. And another idea could be to maybe have a smaller polytunnel within this one, or maybe a tomato house within this one to help give extra protection. Be ready with some fleece maybe, or some bubble wrap. So really don't limit yourself too much to what you want to do. I hope you can see from here, if I move this here, in the corner there, I have some lettuce that I've overwintered, and I have variety all the year round and winter density, and follows the same procedure as I showed you earlier of my overwintering vegetables, but perfectly ready to start eating now during this sparse period of gardening time of year. In case that didn't pick up, there you are. That's lettuce all the year round, and that is lettuce winter density. Been in here all winter in these polystyrene containers. I have had people contacting me telling me about being aware of the dangers of using polystyrene in gardening for things like plant pots, so I will be looking into that, but for the time being that's where they are. That's how I've utilised these polystyrene containers as a form of recycling. And one thing that's very good, I've also noticed that these containers I'm using here are also recyclable 100% apparently in themselves, so in those regards that's good. I'm down here behind the nectarine variety Lord Napier. Now I'm just going to talk very briefly about how I've secured my polytunnels to the ground. Now I made videos when I put both of them up, and I'll link them down below so you can see in better detail how I secured them. But basically they're secured in each corner with a post that's concreted into the ground. I've also got posts each side about a third down into the ground as well, and I've got bricks around the bottom, and on top of the bricks I have got 2x4, and the frame of the polytunnel itself, I've attached it to the 2x4 using these blocks down here such as this, which screw through a round ring, and then that connects it to the 2x4, and then of course the plastic cover then goes around the frame itself. This polytunnel is very secure. It's gone through several storms. The other one has gone through a lot more than that, and I trust my method here for securing them. Of course I can only go by UK standards. I know in other countries they get far quicker, faster, stronger winds than we do here. But also this is a residential area, so of course if it's in the middle of a field then one may have to look into more secure methods. But I am 100% certain so far that any storm that's come over this tunnel has not dislodged it or moved it at all. So check those videos out if you may find that helpful. Thank you very much for viewing, people. If you like my work, please feel free to like, share and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video.